Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the webinar. I want to thank you all for taking some time out of your day today to participate in this presentation. My name is Andreas Vitsarakis, Director of Broadband for Select Spectrum, and I have the great pleasure of managing our semi-annual 2.5 gigahertz spectrum lease auction. Today, we will be going over the 2.5 gigahertz band, our auction, and some of the benefits of acquiring 2.5 gigahertz spectrum rights. We are looking forward to our fall 2018 spectrum lease auction, which will commence on Friday, November 2nd. Prior spectrum auctions have been extremely successful, and the structure provides for a streamlined and efficient process for both potential lessees and license holders. We do have some time set aside at the end of the presentation for any questions that you might have. Let's start by taking a look at the 2.5 gigahertz band plan, which is a total of 194 megahertz, starting out at 2496 and up to 2690. You have probably noticed that the band is separated into two categories. The first is EBS, or Educational Broadband Service, and it is represented by the salmon color on this slide. EBS licenses make up about 5/8 of the band, and currently the licenses can only be held by an educational institution or nonprofit educational organization. The channels represented by green and blue shades are BRS, which stands for Broadband Radio Service. BRS licenses can be held by anyone, including commercial entities, and the majority of these licenses are held by Sprint. We do have both EBS and BRS licenses featured in our auction, but the bulk of the licenses will be EBS. A typical license is 4 channels or 22.5 megahertz. For example, let's take a look at the A channel block. A1, A2, and A3 are located in the lower band and are 5.5 megahertz each for a collective 16.5 megahertz. A4 is located in the middle band and contains 6 megahertz, which gets us to a total of 22.5 megahertz. It is possible and even preferred, especially for fixed wireless, to lease multiple licenses covering the same geographic area. For example, you can lease the A and B channel blocks, which would equate to 33 megahertz of contiguous spectrum in the lower band and 12 megahertz in the middle band. Now that we've taken a look at the 2.5 gigahertz band plan and how licenses look from a spectral point of view, let's now take a look how licenses may look geographically. The standard license is a circle with a 35-mile radius, but if you look at the blue shape on your screen, you will see the accurate GSA of the license is not a complete circle. This occurs because the license ran into another license on the same frequency. On Select Spectrum's secure website, accurate GSAs are represented for all licenses. If you had the pleasure in the past of looking at GSAs on the FCC's website, you probably have noticed that all the licenses are represented by perfect circles, which is not accurate, and it seems that the FCC only uses a compass tool. This brings forward a great benefit of getting access to our nationwide 2.5 gigahertz spectrum availability map, as I'm sure everyone on this webinar would appreciate the most accurate information when in planning stages. Now, while some of the sections of these licenses touch each other, there are parts of the country that are currently unserved by 2.5 gigahertz spectrum. The red shade represents where this particular license potentially would expand out to per the proposed rules of the FCC in their notice of proposed rulemaking. The FCC has proposed that in the first priority filing window, it would be for existing 2.5 gigahertz licensees to expand their licenses GSA out to county borders. The FCC is still trying to determine the threshold of how much a county an existing license must cover to be able to expand. We have done several webinars on the FCC's NPRM and have filed comment and reply comment in the proceeding. If you would like to learn more about our efforts and how and if new license issuance might affect you in your operational footprint, please make sure to reach out to me offline after this presentation. You may also visit our website or YouTube channel to view prior webinars on the subject. Now, let's take a look at some of the advantages of operating on 2.5 gigahertz licensed spectrum. The main advantage would be freedom from interference, and I get calls almost every day from operators nationwide that are looking for licensed spectrum for this very reason. The spectrum also has higher power levels and the ability to provide non-line of sight service. 2.5 gigahertz spectrum is known for its great propagation benefits and its ability to get through trees, obstructions, and unfavorable topology, as well as having good building penetration. Standard equipment in this band would be LTE and WiMAX. We actually have seen the cost of equipment decreasing over the years, making it more affordable for operators to obtain 2.5 gigahertz rights and build out their network. As of now, there has been zero competition from AT&T, Verizon, or T-Mobile in regard to leasing EBS licenses. So what are the benefits of participating in our Spectrum lease auction? I think one of the biggest benefits is that spectrum leases have built-in financing. FCC rules require all EBS licenses to be held by educational institutions and cannot be sold to commercial operators, so they must be leased. A lease payment structure might include 10% upfront and the other 90% paid out over the 30-year lease. This is advantageous for many commercial operators, particularly smaller operators that might have a high cost of capital or a challenge borrowing all of the money up front. Being that Select Spectrum professionals are experts in this field, it is very beneficial for operators to lean on Select Spectrum for spectrum rights acquisition, as many operators are out in the field and getting their hands dirty and may not have much experience in doing so. Select Spectrum has years of experience dealing with schools and colleges who hold these licenses, and we have bucket loads of deals which resulted in success at fair price points for both the license holder and the lessee. I'd like to now touch on some requirements the FCC has in order to ensure the license and lease remain in good standing with the FCC. The FCC requires that a part of the license, specifically 5%, is reserved for educational purposes. This is typically accomplished by giving the license holder a certain number of free accounts that can be used on the network, also known as service credits. The maximum duration for any lease signed today is 30 years, but any lease signed prior to January 10th, 2005 has a maximum term of 15 years. So if a lease was signed in 2003, it would expire in 2018, regardless of what the lease states. Now that we've gone over the background information about 2.5 gigahertz licenses, I would like to spend some time talking about the auction process and what to expect after the first bid date. I should clarify that it is less an auction and more of a secondary market. This is not an open process like eBay where you know what the other person is bidding. It is a sealed process and only the license holders will know what bids they received. To date, we have over 185 completed transactions as a result of this process, and many more deals are in the negotiations phase. In our prior auctions, the bids ranged from less than 4 cents to greater than 20 cents per megahertz pop. In the upcoming auction, we have over 260 2.5 gigahertz licenses that will be available. Completed agreements are due by 11 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursday, November 1st, and bidding starts the following day on Friday, November 2nd at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Bidding will conclude a week later on November 8th at 11 p.m. Eastern Time, and then we will have all of the offers presented to respective license holders the following week by November 15th. If you are interested in participating in the auction and or taking a look at our nationwide 2.5 gigahertz availability map resource, please find our bidders agreement on our website. You may also reach out to me via email or phone, and I would be happy to send an agreement over and answer any questions you might have. If you would like to find out what is available in your area before completing an agreement, I can help you with that as well. Once you have completed the agreement and registered on our website, which will grant you access to the resources that we've discussed, you will want to attend our next webinar, which is scheduled for Thursday, October 18th at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Registration link can be found on Select Spectrum's webpage, and this webinar will go over how to navigate our website, utilize our tools, and ultimately how to place a bid using our secure site. Thank you all for attending the webinar today. Please make sure to follow us on Twitter at Select Spectrum and subscribe to our YouTube channel to get access to all of the informative webinars that we have done this far. Thanks again and enjoy the rest of your day.